All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. And this is it, folks. The final installment leading up to the start of a new college football season, which begins in a matter of hours. Okay, and I talked about all of my previews leading up to the start of the new college football season. And last but certainly not least, I'm here to talk about my playoff projections, which 12 teams that I feel have what it takes to get to the college football playoff for this year. And of course, with what I'm about to say, there's going to be some people that are going to agree. There's going to be some people who are going to disagree. This is what it's all about because the race for the playoff brings with it a lot of questions, a lot of opinions, a lot of, agreeing and a lot of disagreeing. And I know some people might be upset that I feel like their favorite school might not make it. This is all a part of the argument, if you will. And like I've said before, if you have a two-team postseason, there's going to be a third team arguing. If you have a fourth team postseason, it's going to be a fifth team argument. And now that we're at 12, there's going to be a 13th team. And there's always going to be teams that feel like they should have gotten in. But nonetheless, these are the teams who I feel will get to the postseason this year. And of course, things have changed from last year. Last year, the first round buys went to the highest ranking conference champions. That is not going to be the case for this year, as it's going to be the four highest ranked teams, regardless of whether or not that they won a conference or not. So, with that said, the four teams that I do think who are going to get buys this year, I think Penn State gets a buy. I picked them to win the Big Ten. I think Clemson gets a buy. I picked them to win the ACC. I think LSU gets a buy. I picked them to win the SEC. And finally, I'm giving the last buy to Notre Dame. Now, listening to that, some people might say, well, how are you going to have an ACC team have an SEC team? It's simple. I feel like this. Clemson and LSU, they begin their respective seasons next weekend, okay, by facing off against each other. I think Clemson wins that game. Okay, that's just my 2 cents. Okay, with that said, if you got a situation where I know that the SEC is probably going to be the stronger conference from top to bottom this year than the ACC will. However, if both of these teams finish with the same record and both of these teams are conference champions, you know, you clearly have a head to head right there as far and because of that, if that whole serve, that's why I would put Clemson ahead of LSU in that situation. Nonetheless, the final eight bids that I have them being doled out to. I think Texas gets back to the playoff for the third straight year. I like Kansas State. I think Oregon gets back for the second consecutive year. I like the defending national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes, to be in this tournament. I like SMU to get back to the playoff. I'm going with Texas A&M to make the postseason for the first time. I also here's my surprise right here. I like Iowa State in this postseason, and of course, representing the group of five, I'm going to go with Boise State. So the first round matchups, or the on-campus matchups, if you will, I got Boise State traveling to take on Texas, Iowa State having their third matchup because of course we know Iowa State and K State get it kicked off today. I feel both of these teams are going to make the Big 12 championship game. So, of course, this would be the third time if that was to hold serve for these two teams to face off this year. I have A&M traveling to Eugene to take on Oregon, and then I have SMU traveling to Columbus to take on Ohio State. And when we get down to brass tacks for the quarters, the Cotton Bowl, I'm looking at it as Texas, and of course, Texas had a big crowd advantage in that Cotton Bowl last year. The semis lost to Ohio State, but nonetheless, this time around, I got Texas taking on Notre Dame there. Orange Bowl, I like Oregon and Clemson to meet up. Rose Bowl, we had an all Big Ten matchup last year. I think that's the case once again this year. Ohio State and Penn State. Sugar Bowl, I've got K State taking on LSU, and from there, when it gets to the semis, Fiesta Bowl, I like Texas to face Penn State. Peach Bowl, I've got LSU and Clemson. So, of course, these two teams will begin the season with each other next weekend. So, if that holds serves, somebody's season is going to come to an end based on the team that they began the year with. And then the championship game, which is slated to take place in Miami. Two head coaches, in my opinion, that have not won a championship. Somebody's is going to get off the schneid this year, whether it's going to be LSU or Penn State. And I'm going with LSU to win the whole kit and caboodle. I know that Brian Kelly is coming into this year with a lot of pressure, with a lot of questions on him around him. But I think LSU has a very good team, and I think that the Bayou Bengals have what it takes to win. I think they would win a rematch with Clemson, in my opinion, in the playoff, and then of course they keep it rolling to the college football championship, in my opinion. Nonetheless, I think we are set up for an epic college football season. This is going to be a barn burner in every sense of the word. I think us as fans are going to enjoy it. It starts today with K State and Iowa State. Big weekend next weekend for Labor Day, and it's going to be full of fun and excitement. And I guarantee you, the 2025 college football season doesn't have to take a back seat to anyone. But those are my previews, okay, for the upcoming college football season. I hope that everybody enjoyed everything that they've heard so far, conference by conference. Breakdowns, some things, I did make a couple of snafus there. Apologies for those. I will always continue to work to be better. But nonetheless, I think we are in store for a tremendous season with some tremendous teams and tremendous players, tremendous coaches, tremendous fan bases, you name it. But nonetheless, I, like you, cannot wait for this college football season to get started. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw on this podcast, you know what to do. Just please feel free to hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it is greatly appreciated. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, I'll give you that follow right back in return. Also, if you're on Instagram, just like it is with the X, you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. And if you give me that follow, I'll give you that follow right back. You can also check us out on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports debating groups going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.